Since 1972, there have been no human footsteps placed on the moon. For decades, NASA has been intending to go back to the moon, but has always been underfunded. But now we have a mega rocket and a capsule, and they're going for a test run before humans step out onto the moon again in just a couple of years. And we're going for this test run to the moon next week. Here's how you can watch all of it, find out more about it, and enjoy all of the build-up. So the most important thing you can do is keep an eye on the official NASA or European Space Agency streams that are in the show notes below. While you're taking a look at those, let me know in the comments about any other streams that you'll be watching. Share the love so that other viewers can consider those streams too. So the first attempt at a launch will be on the 29th of August. That's just the other side of this weekend if you're watching this video as we released it. So a Monday launch, unless there have been problems between me recording and releasing this video, which would mean the launch attempt has been delayed. But as things stand now, in my time, we all go for launch to the moon on Monday anytime from 9:53 a.m. Eastern Time, that's 2:53 p.m. in the UK and 3:53 p.m. in Central Europe. Fueling the gigantic moon rocket with 262 tons of liquid oxygen and 717 tons of supercooled liquid hydrogen will begin at 8:33 a.m. Eastern Time or 1:33 p.m. in the UK and 2:33 p.m. in Central Europe. And this would be the time for enthusiasts to start watching for all the cool NASA videos and last minute reveals on the mission status and aims. You can guarantee there will be a few more details leaked at the last minute about what the mission will accomplish. And as Sean the Sheep's on board, there will be quite a few people wanting to keep updated with how he's getting on. So Artemis 1 is launching from the historic pad 39B, where 53 space shuttle missions, Apollo Soyuz, Skylab and Apollo 10 were all launched since 1969, so it's no stranger to sending people to the moon. However, as Artemis 1 is a test mission, it has no humans on board. Instead, it has 3 test dummies to test the effects of radiation on the body during a long duration mission outside the Earth's protective magnetic fields. And of course, the ovine passenger I mentioned earlier, Sean the Sheep. If there are any problems during the launch sequence and Artemis 1 isn't able to launch on Monday, they'll leave the rocket at the pad and wait a few days for their backup launch windows on the 2nd and 5th of September. These launch opportunities, or windows, are all determined by the relative positions of the Earth and Moon, and NASA mathematicians can work out all of these possible time slots long in advance. If there are any more serious delays that mean they can't launch on the 29th, the 2nd or the 5th, and there's no reason at the moment to think that, then the rocket will slowly make its way back to the vehicle assembly building to shelter it out until the next launch window is running from the 17th to the 31st of October. But we're not going to have to wait until then, are we? After 11 years in development, this rocket's going on Monday, right? Let me know in the comments what you think. Will it go on its first attempt, or will we have to wait a bit? God, I hope not. Well, even in the run-up, NASA has quite a few TV programs and briefings planned that will tell you all about the Artemis plans, this new rocket and NASA's human spaceflight in the coming decades. They'll all be available on NASA TV that you can get online with the link in the comments below, or on your normal TV if you're in the States. Starting 3 days before the planned launch, today, if you're watching on the day this video was released, is a briefing from NASA and executives from the key commercial contractors in the Artemis program. Aerojet Rocketdyne, who make the rocket engines, Lockheed Martin, who make the Orion capsule, Northrop Grumman, who make the solid rocket boosters, and Airbus, who provide the service module and life support systems. So that will tell us all about the new hardware in this moon rocket. Then at 11 o'clock on Saturday the 27th of August, that's 4 p.m. in the UK and 5 p.m. in Central Europe, there's a briefing from the Artemis mission manager, the NASA launch director and the chief exploration scientist. So that's really going to whet our appetites for the mission. That will be followed by a briefing with an astronaut and NASA executives who'll tell us about the end game for Artemis, how they'll get people beyond the moon and out to Mars. Then the day before the launch, we'll have the senior test director and the NASA weather officer briefing us on how the conditions look for a launch and the considerations they have in deciding whether to launch or not. But that's just all the educational candy before the main event on the 29th, which of course is all wrapped up in footage and coverage either side of the launch itself. And it really is the rocket launch to watch. This rocket, the SLS or Space Launch System, is the most powerful rocket that's ever launched to space. It actually produces 15% more thrust than the Saturn V rocket that we last used to go to the moon in the 1960s and 1970s. It will burn its solid rocket boosters until they run out of fuel and then continue rising under the power of its 4 main engines until they run out of fuel as well. As you can see, most of any rocket is just fuel and engines to get the smallest part of the stack to space. And after 8.5 minutes, the Orion capsule will reach orbit. 2 hours after that, the upper stage engines will send the capsule off onto a lunar trajectory and the Orion capsule will be on its way to the moon. Once at the moon, the Orion capsule will enter a distant retrograde orbit where it will be as close as 69 miles away from the moon on one side of its orbit and a record-breaking 40,000 miles away on the far side loop of the orbit. During this orbit, it'll deploy 10 science CubeSats before heading back home for a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean near San Diego, California. Last month, we had a dress rehearsal of the SLS where NASA filled it with fuel and went through the countdown sequence all the way to 29 seconds before launch. That paved the way for this full stack launch with dummies and a lamb chop. This test run to the moon, if successful, then opens the door for a rerun with 4 astronauts and more science satellites in May 2024. If Artemis 2 is successful, Artemis 3, still scheduled for 2025 but more likely to launch in 2026, I'd say, will be this generation's Apollo 11. Artemis 3 will put the first footprints from a woman and a person of colour on the surface of the moon, with a landing in the lunar South Pole. But unlike Apollo, the Artemis program isn't just about beating the Russians, grabbing some rocks and then running out of excitement to keep going back. Artemis plans to build a permanent presence on the moon, moon colonies for exploration, pollution-free astronomy and commercial opportunities like mining and high-priced tourism. And with dozens of new space companies now building spacecraft, space stations, lunar landers, refueling depots and habitats, there is now more chance of mankind finally creating a permanent presence in space on the moon and further into the solar system than ever before. One day when we can look through a backyard telescope and see lights on the shadowed portion of the moon, or consider that once-in-a-lifetime holiday to Moon Base Alpha, we might look back at Apollo in the 1960s as that first dangerous step at what might be possible. But Monday, the 29th of August 2022 might be seen as the first voyage into our future potential beyond Earth. For a fictional sheep at the very least. And if you want to know more about Project Artemis and NASA's plans to get to the moon and beyond, take a look at these videos.